Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dungeons and Garden podcast. I'm Nathan, sitting here with my beautiful wife Mia.
Hey, if you're new here on this podcast, we share our daily highs and lows. This is not by any means a highlight reel, but where we share the realities of navigating marriage, faith, and our life together with God's guidance every step of the way.
Absolutely. Today we're going to be talking about something that I feel like affects a majority of us, and that is, what we consume on social media, TV, and even the music we listen to.
Yeah, so we're going to break it into three parts. First, we'll talk to the men about how culture has become increasingly provocative, making it harder to guard against lust. Then we'll talk to the women about how what we see online can lead to comparison, insecurities, and adopting worldly standards. And lastly, we'll wrap it up by talking about, for our marriages, how to protect the holiness of our marriage bed and respect our spouse in both our online and offline behaviors.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it.
All right, so let's start with the men, like we said. I mean, babe, let's be real. The culture is getting bold with what's being put out there as just normal on commercials and shows and movies. I mean, even Disney now is like a little woke.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 100%. Everywhere we look, like you said, ads, social media. I mean, just walking through the mall. It's like Proverbs 7 is coming to life.
Wait, what's Proverbs 7?
Proverbs 7 warns about the wayward women who lure men into sin. And today, it's not just on the streets. It's on your For You page. It's on your For You page. Jesus said in Matthew, anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery.
Oof.
That's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, and let's not pretend like the enemy doesn't know this. Like, he's 100% using social media, the algorithms to put temptation right in front of our face. I mean, one of my friends and I, like, we've had several conversations about when she started TikTok, or her husband started on TikTok. His default algorithm was girls half-dressed,
Right.
dancing, like, and she said she had to go through a lot to get his algorithm to stop showing him stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it's not just like an accidental seeing something. It's about what we choose to stay on.
Yeah.
Like, what you follow, what you like. Like, if you wouldn't linger in real life, like, if you're walking down the street and you see a girl, like, dancing to a TikTok song, like, half-dressed, are you going to sit there and stare at her?
Right.
No, your wife is going to beat you up. Like, you shouldn't be doing it online.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, too, because people can see what you like. When you're staying on something, when you're watching something, what your eyes go to, your phone is tracking all of that. Like, all of that feeds into that algorithm. What's being pushed then, like you're saying, on your For You page or on your suggested. Like, that is all based on the things that you are lingering on, the things that you are watching. And that does say a lot about you.
Absolutely.
Like, that is a reflection of what you're choosing to allow in. And it's not just about your own struggle, because sometimes, people can look at that and just say, oh, well, I'm just looking, it's just online, it's not that big a deal. But like you're saying, if you wouldn't look at that in person, if you wouldn't be in the gym staring at that girl with half her clothes off, like weightlifting, then why are you watching that online? Like, it's also just about respecting your wife and your marriage too, and just being mindful. Like, if I wouldn't do this in person,
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't do it online.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it is hard nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff out there, guys. Like, and it's shoved in your face 24/7.
I mean, this also goes for women, but it is primarily more of a male problem.
Yeah.
But if this is reversed in your relationship or your marriage,
Yeah, you're not.
this also goes for women too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's like, regardless. Like,
Yeah.
we just talked about it last episode.
Yeah.
Comparison is a thief.
Yeah.
Like, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, like, it's there for you.
Right.
And with it being there, you can't say you're honoring your wife while you're entertaining the very things that lead you into sin.
Right. So, kind of on the topic of comparison, let's, switch topics a little bit here and talk to the women, because
Yeah.
I think that comparison, while men do also struggle with this, we talked about that in the last episode, I do think it is something that the enemy really, really gets women
Yeah.
with comparison.
Absolutely. It's sneaky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because doesn't always feel sinful. It just feels maybe like, inspiration.
Right. And, just like men deal with lust, women deal with comparison. Social media has us idolizing body types, idolizing lifestyles and fashions that are not honoring to God. And like you're saying, it comes across our timeline or our Pinterest as inspirational. But, before you know it, you're questioning your worth. You're nitpicking your body, or you're thinking, my marriage, my spouse isn't enough, because you're seeing someone else's filtered version of life. And now your gratitude and your joy is gone for the life that God has blessed you with.
Yeah, that's good. And that reminds me of 1 Samuel. Like, a man looks to the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
Yes, like God isn't measuring us by Instagram's beauty standards. And ladies, let's be real. If we are constantly consuming things that glorify immodesty or over-sexualization and vanity, that is going to have an effect on the way that we show up and the way that we act in person.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the solution?
Well, going back to the Bible, Philippians says we should be thinking about whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure. Think about such things. We need to be intentional about filtering out, having discernment of what we allow into our hearts, into our minds. The eyes are the window to the soul, what we are seeing, what we are hearing, what we are consuming. Like we said on, I think it was the last episode, or no, maybe it was episode 35. When you're squeezed, what's on the inside comes out. So we need to be intentional about what we're pouring into ourselves and what we're consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring this home. How does this all affect our marriage?
Well, the Bible tells us in Hebrews that marriage should be honored above all, and the marriage bed should be kept pure. Now that means both spouses need to be intentional about what we are allowing in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we already said it. Being real, people can see what you follow.
Yes.
They can see what you like. They're going to see who you engage with online.
Who you're following, like right. You're saying, who you're following, who you're liking, what you're commenting on, stuff like that. Like, your name pops up, and that is a reflection of you and your spouse.
So, if you wouldn't openly look at this in front of your spouse, you shouldn't be doing it in secret. Like, if you wouldn't be sitting at church, watching girls half-naked dance on Instagram, while people are walking behind you.
Right. That's a good point,
You shouldn't be doing it at work. You shouldn't be doing it at home. You shouldn't be doing it alone in your car.
Right, and that goes for both spouses. If you wouldn't walk into church wearing X, Y, or Z, then you probably shouldn't post it. Knowing Jesus is everywhere. We should maybe rethink what we are even putting out there ourselves. Because like I said, if you're constantly consuming things where women are over-sexualized or super vain, and you're watching things that are immodest, and you're like, oh, that's cute, then that's what you start to think, oh, well, I want that little thing or that little thing, and then you're posting that and you're putting that out there. But it's we will be held accountable for all the things that we do.
Absolutely. That is so good. Protecting our marriage isn't about just avoiding sin.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about actively just honoring our spouse.
Right, and that means having the conversation about boundaries, keeping each other accountable, and remembering, what we see, what we engage in, it does affect our marriage, and just being upfront with each other about what we consider okay, what we don't consider okay. If your spouse doesn't want you following X, Y, or Z, or whatever, it's not to be seen as something as controlling or lack of privacy or whatever. I think that that's also where, practically we need to be able to have these conversations with one another and not have defensiveness or bickering between us, and kind of just prioritize the relationship over, oh, this girl that I knew from high school or middle school, or who cares? Right,
absolutely. And vice versa for, men, like you're saying, this girl I used to know, for women, this guy I used to know.
Right.
Some advice: approach that conversation very carefully. Don't just you should just do it because I'm your husband.
You could just be like me and just go on there and unfollow them.
Or you could do that. Probably not a good solution either. That's a recipe for a fight.
I feel like you didn't even notice.
Fair, I didn't notice, but I feel like if you're somebody who does notice,
yeah, it depends on your spouse. If your spouse is just doesn't really care about social media, and they just have people on there that they've never unfollowed, and they're just not really huge social media people, you could do it for them. But yeah,
Ask them first.
maybe have a conversation about it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Anyway.
Final takeaway. What we see matters. You know, whether it's lust, comparison, or just allowing the world's values to shape us.
Yeah.
We need to guard our eyes and we need to guard our hearts.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to this. Are we letting culture shape us, or are we letting the Word of God shape us?
If this episode challenged you, let us know. You know, leave us a review, drop a comment, share it with a friend. It really helps us keep these conversations going.
Yep, and as always, thanks for listening to the Deserts and Gardens podcast. Until next time, walk in love,
Live with purpose,
and trust God in every desert and garden. See ya!